Hi, in today's episode, we have Ma Anand Sheela. Ma Anand Sheela has just recently written books, which she will talk to us about. Everybody knows about the story of her life with Bhagwan Rajneesh. Ma Anand Sheela had pleaded guilty to attempted murder and assault for her role in 1984 for a bioterror attack. But to me, I have seen a very different Ma Sheela. Welcome, Ma Sheela, in today's episode. And I would really like you to tell me, who is Ma Sheela?
That's a good question. Who is Ma Sheela? Ma Sheela is the one who is talking to you right now. And Ma Sheela is someone who is not indifferent to anyone, but everyone has an opinion of her according to their own perspective. And that is Ma Sheela. She accepts all opinions.
This kind of an awakening must have come to you in the later years, if I were to understand, because now if I were to travel back and look back at the documentary, unfortunately, I've not been able to meet you in person, but I really hope I do, because I see a spirit inside you that is undying. I see a really kick-ass girl. In today's society, we need women who really know what they are doing, what they're saying, and living life exactly like you said, by your own rules. I do see a very vulnerable young Sheela sitting on the swing in her house in Gujarat and touching the side pillows, the bolsters, and tears streaming down her cheeks. Tell me the start of Sheela to becoming Ma Sheela, the whole journey.
That vulnerability comes from the same heart that also knows how to be in love. When you are in love, you are also vulnerable. And being in love is what my main character is. I have always been in love. Love has not become boring for me. As a child, I was loved by my parents and my siblings. And as a grown-up old woman, I'm also loved by world at large. And I'm also have been victim of world negativity, which I use word victim, but I don't feel like a victim. I use the word just to explain to you the difference.
Ma Sheela, when you talk about negativity, what is it that really saddened you the most? Because, we are human beings and we do go through emotions of highs and lows. And if you were to look back at that dark phase of your life, because I will not be able to reach that level of your spirituality, but I'm sure, in darkness we find light, and that holds so true. So Ma Sheela, do tell the listeners, what was that moment when you felt the lowest, and how did you emerge out of it with a book under you today? I love listening to you. Your voice has honey in it. And, there is so much of love that I can feel when I'm talking to you. Do tell me a little bit about that.
The lowest point that I felt, but that was for a short moment. People I loved and cared for all jumped on a bandwagon of negativity. These were the people who were elite of the world. And that mentality of bandwagon, that mentality of just becoming masses without discrimination, without discretion, was the point where I felt, oh my God, How is it possible? But that is how the world is at large. And that realization gave me the sense of my own integrity, sense of my own being, and said, you must move on. And I have been moving on from that moment on.
Sheela, to the time when you felt very dejected when people let you down, because there were people who would have been very close to you, during this entire time while you were there as a sannyasin. And so what were the feelings that overcame? Did you feel regret for having been there?
No, not for a moment.
Where do you derive that strength from, Sheela?
From my own conviction. And my conviction was that I was in love with Bhagwan and I was in love with his community. And that in itself was the smooth cream for my soul.
But Sheela, I have to say something to you. I have this feeling that you've taken up the entire onus on your shoulders because of the love that you had for Bhagwan. Is there a little bit of truth in that?
Oh, there is a lot of truth in it.
Did you feel cheated at any moment?
Not at all. On the contrary, what I feel, I was in a position where it is, when you wear a crown, you have to take responsibility. And I took my responsibility. He trusted me to give me an opportunity for this giant, massive work that we did. And that responsibility showed the love and trust he had in me. Now, in the process, if something goes wrong, you don't point fingers at others. At that point, you keep your head straight and you take the responsibility, and you are punished for it. You accept punishment with grace. And that's what I had learned from my parents, and that's what I did.
How did your parents react when they heard about all of this? What was their reaction like, Sheela, with you?
I could see tears in my mother's eyes. I could feel my father's concern towards me, but at no point I felt distrust. And at no point I felt they shamed or I have let them down. They were very proud of me.
Sheela, I have to ask you this question. Coming from Gujarat, from a home that would have been traditional, and getting into a commune that the world over people know about free love, which as a concept cannot go down very well with the boundaries that people draw around family life, and it questions the very ethos of a family life. How do you think you could explain that to your parents? Because I'm sure they had a completely familial structure, and out of that, you stepped out to really lead the life that you led. How did you ever have a situation where you needed to address this with them?
No. You have to understand, my parents were rare. Rare in Baroda, rare in Gujarat, rare in India, even in the world, I would say, very rare. My father, mother were ahead of their time, minimum 50 years.
Wow.
They lived their life according to themselves. And my father was very clear that his daughters are more sons than sons themselves, meaning in the world, people want son to move forward, not in our family. Our family, all 6 children, they wanted to move forward and give all the education that is they can offer and make it possible for us. And that's what they did. They were remarkably intelligent people. And that is why my father, at a very young age, introduced me to Bhagwan. Not because he was afraid that I would do I would get in a wrong company or something. He said, you have to learn. And only way you can learn is from such intellectual giants. We were all exposed to Bhagwan, Krishnamurti, philosophical giants of the time, and given every opportunity to explore and then take what we wanted to where our interest was.
So, Sheela, coming back to the question, which I think most of the listeners would be very keen to understand and hear, when we talk about free love, which, of course, it is sex to super consciousness, as, according to the Rajneesh philosophy and according to Bhagwan's philosophy. And so when you talk about free love, wasn't it dysfunctional for people outside the commune when they went out? I'm sure quite a few people also left and they went. And how do you think they would have adjusted to something that is so anti-establishment, because I'm sure you dreamt of a world where, this is the way it would be. Then how does a family structure come into it? I'm just trying to understand, because you've been, nobody says Rajneesh without Sheela. So just maybe for our listeners, you need to say this to us.
I'm honored that nobody says,
yes, that's my line to
I'm
you.
Without Sheela.
Nobody says Bhagwan without Sheela. Yes, they don't.
Right. This is wonderful. Now, talk about family structure. We know of a family structure that is small unit. We also are aware of big units of the family where big family together lives with father, grandfather, and all the children thereafter. Grows big family structure. And then community structure. Community structure is even a bigger family. And Bhagwan was talking about the community as a family. Your question about sexuality, that is yet another issue. Sex is every individual's right. It is every individual's basic energy. And one should have freedom of choice in sexuality. One should have respect in exercise one's sexuality. Consensual sexuality with respect is what we had learned from Bhagwan. And going out in the world, you have to follow the norm of the world. When you don't have the strength to combat with the world or the combat with the establishment. But it doesn't mean that you become weak and by atrocities and violence upon yourself.
Sheela,
sex is sacred,
yes,
and it should be dealt with sacredness.
Mashira, my question would be that, people who came into the commune would generally may have been very disillusioned with the real world outside, and in the real world, sex is not viewed as sacred as much as we want it to be. And we do understand that the genesis of a human being begins with the procreation. And, that's where the greatest energy between the yin and the yang and a man and a woman. But the real world isn't like that. So do you think that when people were coming into the commune, and you were, like I said, there is no Bhagwan without Sheela, and you would have met a lot of people. Do you feel that most were disillusioned with the real world outside? Because living in the real world and practicing all of these things is an equally challenging thing. I think for people who live in the real world have great amount of challenges also to navigate emotions, to navigate anger, to navigate fear, to navigate all of that. And everybody doesn't have the luxury of going into a commune. So would you agree that most were disillusioned with the real world outside, and most were financially also strong to have taken that choice to come in there?
Well, we were coming up when I met Bhagwan. We were a product of flower power, where people were deluded. People had delusions of the normal lifestyle.
The system. They were questioning the system.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were beginning to say, what is our values? And in that time, Bhagwan came up with his creative way of speaking, and we were all attracted to him. I don't just say me alone was attracted. Everybody around Bhagwan was attracted and wanted to live in sense of freedom. But with freedom comes the responsibility also.
Yes.
Freedom without responsibility is a waste of time to talk about freedom. In this situation, Bhagwan had a vision of creating a community that is same thinking people live in a small, big units and develop themselves, create their own values. And that's how the community around Bhagwan was created. So the people we were living together, they were not very much interested in a normal world, as we call it, normal outside world. And nothing is wrong in it. It is, you choose a university of your choice. You choose your guru according to your choice. Nothing wrong. But where the problem comes is people who are not agreeable to somebody's choice and they interfere. And they interfere out of their own fears. That's where things become problematic.
Mashila, it would be lovely to also know, when did Bhagwan let you in, into himself? Because that must have been a very, very, a huge moment for you in your entire journey. What was that moment when you felt that he had completely let you in?
Well, he didn't have to let me in. I had let him in my heart completely when I fell in love with him.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't that he has to do anything for me. And I guess he must be observing me around him in Pune Ashram in Bombay, and felt my potential or whatever. And he started assigning me different jobs for the community. And I was very, very happy with working. I'm still happy working. And I'm 72-year-old, you know?
And you're gorgeous. Yes, you're absolutely a style icon, Sheela. I mean, I live in Bangalore and I'm really hoping to God that if you were to come here, I would want to host you in my house, look after you, because there is such a baby in Sheela that I see. I can see a little girl in Sheela. Do you know? Every time, yes.
You know that Sheila is still a little girl?
Yes, she is. She is a little girl with a never die ever spirit, you know, and that just comes through, Sheela. So, you know, I mean, it's amazing when you say that he didn't let me in, I let him in. And that itself is power, Sheela. So, Sheela, there'll be a lot of listeners who are also youngsters, and everybody wants freedom. You know, people leave their parents' homes because they feel constricted, they feel restricted, and they begin to lie. And I've always believed that freedom of, freedom must be there in every relationship, you know, and that's where relationships go sour because we don't give freedom to one another. We're caught with the conditionings. Tell us those 10 maybe or 5 rules that you would advise young girls to live with.
My pleasure. There are 3 very misunderstood words: love, freedom, and what was the third one? I forgot.
That's okay. You can tell us about love and freedom itself.
It will come back in my head.
Yes.
Love, third one, come back, and sex.
So you said 3 things: love, freedom, and sex.
Sex and love, people combine together when things are going good because they don't want to define sexuality separate and love separate. Because often people feel sexual, but they don't want to look promiscuous. So they say, I'm in love. So they mix it up, love and sex. And they do non-justice to both. Then people are 18. Now they think they have a right to freedom. They definitely have right to freedom. But before you exercise your freedom, bear in mind, what does freedom mean? It means responsibility. Freedom is not that you engage yourself in dumb, stupid things that you think getting drunk or doing drugs or creating problems on the streets because there is a beautiful girl passing by. Learn respect towards yourself and towards the other. Freedom you can exercise when you fully understand the meaning of human rights, when you fully respect male and female within yourself and around yourself. You can exercise freedom when you are not perverse sexually and not violent towards anybody in any form. So I would advise every young person reflect upon these 3 words and try to be ruthlessly honest with yourself. And remember me, old woman, whenever you are being irresponsible and violating human rights towards others, stop. Stop for a second. Turn inward. And remember your own heart and soul, that same others have it. Don't violate anybody for any reason. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, Sheela, absolutely you did. And before I'm going to wrap up, Sheela, I need you to tell me a few more things about you for the listeners to know a little bit about your book and, and a few more very general questions. Which is Sheela's favorite form of music? I would love to know that. What is your favorite color? Is it still saffron? And one more question. What sort of cuisine do you really like?
First question is, what is my favorite color? Red and orange.
Okay.
Bhagwan used to find me very beautiful in red.
You look beautiful in red. I've seen your photographs on Instagram. I have.
Yes, and Bhagwan always used to say, Sheela, you look beautiful in red.
Sheela, yes, he said that.
Yes, and that was my world. About the food, at this age, food that are healthy and easily digestible is what I like. I eat whatever that feels good in my body. If it doesn't agree with my body, I don't touch it. So food is now a question of health issue for me.
Okay.
And I think when we are young, we should also pay attention to what we eat and not be abusive to our bodies. And now, first question I forgot.
I wanted to ask you about your favorite music, because I also want to
music. I listen every morning.
What do you listen to?
I'm alone in my office a bit, then I listen. It is Indian classical.
Me too,
Don't ask me
Sheela.
any names. I just go on YouTube and try few artists out. And I love Sufi music very much.
Yes, me too, Sheela. We are on the same page with Indian classical music and Sufi. Yes, Sheela.
And I also like modern young people singing on. I have seen YouTube videos and children's music shows I like also, because they sing so beautifully. And sometimes I say one doesn't have to be a master of music when you can sing like these children do.
Yes. Sheela, you do a lot of social work also right now. I've seen my heart was full when I saw you speak in Deutsch, in German, to so many people who are really unwell and they're sick. So tell me a little bit about this part of the work journey that you're on right now, and then we'll come to the book.
This part of the work that I do, that is, I live and work with mentally, psychologically, and physically handicapped and old people. These homes I have created because of my parents, in love for them, that I dedicate this work to them. It is a very simple concept, and anyone can begin with this concept anywhere in the world, is being there. I am there for you, and you are there for me. It is a give and take we do. And on that basis, we have erased some barriers. Normally, what happens in European homes, that the team of workers, they deal with patient and they think they are better than the patient. And I say, no, we are not better. We are on the same page. It is 1 degree of difference. They cannot take care of themselves, and we can take care of ourselves and maybe help the others. There is 1 degree difference. So simply, I'm there for you. And when I see you need help, I offer it. And you are there for me because you allow me this opportunity to take care of you.
Absolutely, Ma Sheela. Absolutely agree with you on this one.
It's a simple concept and workable anywhere in the world by anybody. You don't need education. You don't need anything. And when you truly want to take care of somebody, you will learn how to do it because you go back to yourself and how you like to be cared for. That's what you offer the others.
Ma Sheela, a little bit about the book for people who've not probably picked up a copy and why they should pick up the copy, because it would give all the lessons about how to live a life with so much of grace and keep that little child still intact in you. I'm sure your book has all of it written down. So tell us just a little bit about the book as to what the readers should look for.
This book comes from my father's desire. My father wanted me to take every opportunity to write or speak because he felt my life's experience is so intense and so vast that I will inspire new generation and I must speak. That's when I wrote my first book in 1996, Don't Kill Him. And this book, I decided to write after the film Wild Wild Country.
Yes.
When this film was released and afterwards, there was so much interest in me that I decided to speak about this interest through my life's ups and downs after I left Bhagwan. It was a roller coaster life that I have lived. And that's where you learn the joys and biggest learnings of life. Joys of life come also, and at the same time, things that you should not forget and reflect upon in life. And that's how I wrote this book. This book talks about small things which I had to focus on myself to come through the hardship. And I'm sure everybody has hardship in life.
Absolutely.
Don't allow yourself to bitter yourself. Don't engage in competition, not in jealousy. And also be ready to correct yourselves where you have made mistakes and move forward. Don't look back. Burn your bridges behind. Life ahead is very vast and very big. Move towards horizon. And that way you will keep moving, moving, moving. And horizon will extend, extend, extend. It is an exercise in positivity and reflection. self-reflection. I enjoyed every minute of it while I was writing. And I wrote it together, continuing to do my normal daily work that I do also. So I would get up early morning, and when house is quiet, then I sit and write few pages. And once my people start waking up and come and chat about how their night was, and then I stop. It was really very enjoyable experience, and I hope people who read it have also same experience. They also enjoy it. The title is By My Own Rules, in My Own Words.
Fantastic. I want to thank you for taking out the time, Ma Sheela, today. And thank you so much for being on this episode of my podcast. It is an absolute honor, Ma Sheela. I have rebooted my career and I've come back into work after a very long gap. And this, I cannot even begin to tell you, was a dream for me that has been fulfilled today. You are an amazing woman, somebody whose spirit comes through her voice, her work, and just the way you are. And like I said in the beginning, and I repeat again, there is Bhagwan and there is Sheela. They both go together because without Sheela, there is no Bhagwan. Thank you so much for being on today's episode. And I look forward to meeting you and holding you tight.
Oh, thank you. I would love that moment. And if you or any of your listeners ever are in Switzerland, do connect with me and come and have a visit.
I will come to Switzerland, Ma Sheela.
Welcome.
And I will come and have a cup of coffee with you and sit down and just hold your hand and see if I could get even the slightest amount of resilience that Ma Sheela you have. Because I'm sure for all the listeners today, and there would be so many women out there who are struggling, and I think this entire podcast is the strength you have and the ability to remain positive in spite of it all. Thank you, Ma Sheela.
Thank you very much.
To you, our dearest listeners, you can find us on your favorite streaming services. Find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and of course, all other major streaming services. With loads of love, we are Moody Mo Awaaz Podcast, where Hatke is hot.